Hello, welcome back to a very special session of 3-day APEC Health Innovation Conclave. A very important session because this session will talk about leveraging newest technologies to strengthen health system to improve outcomes. And for this session, we have been joined by the leaders from various hospitals and hospital ecosystem as well as from industry as well. So without taking much time, let me introduce to all of you. We are joined by Mr. Yatish Wahal, Executive Director, Wim Hans Hospital, Nayatri Group of Hospitals. Thank you so much, Mr. Yatish, for joining us. We're joined by Mr. Nitin Patil, Director, Azure Hybrid Cloud Infrastructure, Microsoft. Thank you, Mr. Nitin, for joining us. We're also joined by Mr. Joy Chakraborty, COO, PB Hinduja National Hospital and Medical Research Center. Welcome, Mr. Joy.
Thank you.
We're also joined by Mr. Prashant Deshmukh, COO, CIMS Hospital Private Limited.
Namaste.
We're also joined by Dr. Biren Chauhan, Group COO, Sunshine Global Hospitals.
Hello, everyone.
We're also joined by Mr. Saurav Gupta, VP Operations Medanta. And we're also joined by Dr. Alok Malik, Group CEO, Omni Hospitals. We welcome Dr. Malik. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
So, just before we start the session, just to give you an overview of what has been discussing uh, for last 1.5 days. So, the APEC Health Innovation Conclave is supported by Dell Technologies and Microsoft representing partner, gold partners Ognito, associate partners Doxiva and Vivio. The day one, which was yesterday, saw a glittering inaugural session in which we saw the presence of chief guest Sri T.S. Singh Deo, Honorable Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Government of Chhattisgarh. We also saw the presence of Dr. Nitin M. Nagarkar, Director and CEO AIMS Raipur, Dr. Nita Verma, Director General NIC, Dr. Ratan Kelkar, Mission Director National Health Mission Government of Kerala, Kamal Arora, Public Sector Head Dell Technologies and Professor Sarman Singh, Director and CEO AIMS Bhopal, Dr. D.K. Singh, Director AIMS Bhatinda, Prabjot Singh, Mission Director NHM Government of Haryana, B. Sundar, Special Secretary IT and Communication Government of Andhra Pradesh, and also Dr. D.K. Sharma, Medical Superintendent, AIMS Delhi. They were all part of inaugural session yesterday, which talked about how technology is playing a vital role in improving the public health landscape, especially beyond pandemic, the way forward. It was followed by a presentation by Dell Technologies. Then we had a session on virtual care deployment for accelerating today's healthcare environment. And then we had a panel discussion on reimagining patient care delivery and workflows in New World Order. Also, there was a important panel discussion on building digital infrastructure for a better and connected healthcare system. Today, also in the opening session, we discussed on a very important aspect of digital health infrastructure, that is ensuring cybersecurity in evolving digital healthcare world. Then we had a perspective from government of Mizoram, and then we had a panel discussion on importance of AI, ML, blockchain, robotics like emerging technologies for improving healthcare delivery. And now we have come to a very important part of this 3-day APEC Healthcare Innovation Conclave, in which we are going to discuss about leveraging new age technologies to strengthen health system to improve outcomes. And primarily we'll be circling around two to three major points. One is ensuring effective health information system, strengthening health financial management, and delivering quality healthcare by leveraging new age technology. With this, let me first go to Dr. Alok Malik, Group CEO, Omni Hospitals. Dr. Malik, your take on ensuring effective health information system.
See, every hospital needs HIS, obviously, and health information systems. But many hospitals make bad choices in getting HISs. Now, this is the dog eat dog market for HISs. And incidentally, every year, at least 10 to 20 HIS vendors go down the drain. Small companies, startups picked up 20, 30 accounts at absolutely um, ridiculous prices, and then obviously they can't pay their people. People start leaving. The company shuts down. Every year this happens. Hospital is stuck with a system which is not supported. Then they go to another system. the first thing that you should look for is the financial health of the HIS vendor, his ability to sustain business for the foreseeable future. It's very important. Otherwise, you will get stuck with a system which is not, which might, the vendor might just ditch you after 2 or 3 years. The second thing is many hospitals insist on saying, ki, okay, this needs to be done like this, I do my lab like this, and I do my purchase like this. They insist on imprinting their processes. Now, as a HIS vendor, I have a HIS, as a good HIS vendor, they have by and large benchmark processes, which you should, I mean, you should actually study, you should have somebody who understands process design. You should see that, okay, the process that this HIS is selling, is this a better process than my own process? You should adopt the new process. Or if the HIS process is weak, you can always talk to the vendor, look, this is the weakness in your process, and this is the way it should be done. And sure, if it's a good vendor, he will take it as constructive and put it on his product roadmap. Okay, don't expect him to do a bunch of processes for you, just for you, because by the time he has 50 accounts, he has 50 different code bases. And this is why most of the HIS vendors ultimately collapse, because they have 50 different code bases to support, and they're selling it dirt cheap, and that's why they go down. So as long as we look at process discipline, we also have a HIS, it's a big company. We also have an internal system that any change request which goes to the HIS vendor has to go through a vetting committee. They have to know that this change request actually adds to the process, actually adds to the quality of the process in terms of cost, quality, and delivery. In all the three parameters, that's this add. Or it is just somebody who is just a new officer or a new manager has just joined from some other hospital, and that's the way they used to do it there. He wants to do it here also that way. So unless it is done, we don't send it as change requests. We always send change requests which will improve the HIS, not okay, I am mandating, I am doing it like this, so you need to do it like this. HIS companies die because of this. One must understand this, and it is in our best interest that we don't make them die, right? So your change request management, your request to the HIS companies, it needs to be vetted. It needs to be, you can't just tell some low-level assistant manager or manager to talk to the HIS company, I want this process to be done like this. And it is so ridiculous. I mean, there was lots of times processes have steps and control points which ensure safety. Now, this may actually make the process a bit more difficult, but then it ensures patient safety. For example, when I was a vendor, one of my hospitals asked me that whenever there is a sample cancellation on the same sample ID, I want to be able to collect another sample. It is not correct. It will always lead to mistakes. I said, no, this is wrong process. If you want me to implement this, you will have to give it to me in writing. I will not implement it like that. You are actually asking me to convert a safe process to an unsafe process, right? Have some process design. All hospitals have some good process guys. Have them review the process from the, as any consultant, McKinsey will tell you, your process review is done on cost, quality, and delivery. You review it on all the three aspects and then only ask for a change request. Sir.
Yeah, so I think what we're talking about primarily that there has to be a process discipline when we talk about effective health information system, and you have talked about the practical problems and challenges which many of you face and how those can be addressed. So let's have a perspective from Mr. Yatish Iwahal. Mr. Yatish, your take on this ensuring effective health information system and what Dr. Alok Manik has just said.
So, Swavik, I concur with Dr. Malik. See, what is also very critical is all of us here on the platform today are largely organized players. And therefore, we have good HIS capabilities. What the pandemic has thrown up is basically there's a very large market, which is about 60-70% of the entire healthcare play, which doesn't have access to a standardized, protocolized HIS. And the pandemic has thrown up the need for such systems because suddenly you had a situation where people were not available and remote login, paperless transactions, all these came to the fore. And today, as a result, uh, there are loads of innovations that have happened, not just in terms of the product, but access to that product as well. One of the core issues regarding a very stable healthcare information system has been the capex that's involved in terms of building and putting together such a system in place. And as a result, which is one of the most difficult or the inhibitors in terms of people getting or becoming enabled to avail of such services. Today, a pay-per-use model has also been introduced by some of the established players, recognizing the sheer volume that is available today. And what's also changed is a lot of the TPAs today, especially during the pandemic, this was something that had started earlier. They have also joined the effort and allowed operators, hospital operators like ourselves, to push digital documents as opposed to physical papers being sent over and couriered. So, the pandemic in itself has thrown open and given solutions, rise to such solutions. And yes, standardized care and standardized protocols are important because, at some point of time, healthcare has to come down to a universal platform. And the sheer volume, again, what's important is all of us organized players, whilst we are big in metros, we still contribute, and while private sector contributes to 80-90% of the overall healthcare requirement, organized play is still not even say 20 odd percent. And therefore, that is the huge scope and opportunity which is today available for any HIS developer and marketer, and that is what needs to be catered to. It has to be built on the pillars of protocolized ways of functioning. Because as Alok was saying, and as I'm sure the other speakers would also say, there are certain ways in which processes work. You cannot get samples changed randomly. You cannot be given access to altering with patient profile or serial numbering. There are ways in which tomorrow you may recall a certain piece of information. There are legal mandates coming in which requires us to store data. And today, we don't want to go to a hospital, preferably, if we can at least call out the information at the click of a button by giving a remote access. So all these are standard points of care, standard points which are supposed to be there in an HIS system. And as the industry moves forward and more people adapt and include technology, these things would become standardized and it's taking place and shape. The current pandemic has helped evolve the way forward in this direction. Sorry.
I think
You
you're
don't
muted.
mean, yeah, you're on mute. So,
Yeah, I think there's. Let's have a perspective from Mr. Nitin Patil, Director Azure Hybrid Cloud Infrastructure, Microsoft. Mr. Nitin, you just heard two leaders from the hospital ecosystem talked about their concerns. What's your take from seeing it from the other side of the thing?
Yeah, basically, what we see is we see it from the lens of a customer. We see customers today, if you put yourself as a patient wanting to avail medical services, you expect more choices in terms of what set of services can be delivered to us, right? We would want as much as virtual in the patient care, as much as touch free. We would want the comfort of our homes to do a lot of stuff before we enter into the facility, and technology to take care of all of us once you're there, right? So this is where the dots can be joined together by the platform, rightly called out by Yatish and Dr. Alok, that it has to, at the end of the day, land what the patients want, what the hospital management wants, and to be able to be end to end. So one other building block for this is the underlying infrastructure that goes into it. How do we make sure that it not only is picks in what the patient records as patient information, but also be able to do greater innovation that's required today to integrate IoT into the systems that go into that, to be able to integrate the video coverage that we have up there, and build analytics on top of that that can really drive a lot of decision making in terms of aiding doctors to take a decision, aiding management to take a call on what services have to be built in, how what services need to be partnered with other service providers, so on and so forth. So what we believe is a platform that really helps you free up a lot of and gives you a lot of flexibility of landing the services right from basic infrastructure to the latest and the greatest analytics, to be able to leverage best of both worlds. We know this is an environment that is restricted. There is the PDP law that's coming in. There's going to be a lot of compliance, and patient records, information, health information is going to be super critical. It has to be handled with super care. At the same time, we have to innovate. We have to deliver the next grade of services. We have to make sure the patients are well taken care of promptly, fastly, without too much of process hurdles that they normally face. So this is two dimensions that we have to tightly walk. With this, we believe the platform like an hybrid is the best choice for us, where we leverage as much services that are available on the public cloud, as well as derive the benefit of on-premises and have the benefit of public cloud on-premises. That's the beauty of some of the solutions that are available, including Dell and us, where we can make the cloud available in the premises, can run the next platform that we want to deploy on HIS, and make it more meaningful for all our customers, be it internal users, be it patients, be it management, reporting. All of that has to come in together and serve. That's another factor that would aid the HIS partner to also survive a long term, right?
Right. Interesting input by Mr. Nitin. Joy Chakraborty, your take on this particular aspect of this session, that is, how can we ensure efficient health information system? What is the present scenario, and how fast or how well we can move forward in this particular segment? If you can unmute your mic, please.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to tell you that current scenario, if you talk about HIS, Health Information System, in India, you can see a wide spectrum. In one side, you have very advanced, top of the best kind of product in the market, which is used by some of the hospitals. And on the other hand, you can see there is next to nil, or almost there is nothing in existence in among some of the healthcare providers, maybe in a small size hospital. The reason why this wide variation is, of course, I need not to say, I needless of saying that it is one side is cost. But the second and very important, and probably that is the reason why what we should emphasize and highlight, is the kind of awareness, the kind of interest, and kind of commitment what a healthcare administrator or a doctor should show, should display, should exhibit for improvement of healthcare system. And in absence of that, what is happening? There is a wide gap between haves and have-nots, and that results into a situation where we see the patients who are at the center stage of the whole activities, they are not very much getting priority, or their interests are not getting very much priority. As a result of that, all of us, we know the digital healthcare has been taken up as one of the prime focus by the government of India, and NDHM is in place. And with that, all the healthcare providers are expected to come to a particular platform, and they should talk to each other for the interest of the patient, for quick diagnosis, for easy information flow between multiple hospitals, and even you'll be surprised that between two hospitals of the same chain located in two different locations. All these are possible if the healthcare HIS developers and hospitals, they adopt the basic standards, the guidelines given to adopt this kind of platform. There are plenty of vendors. On the other hand, I feel strongly this vendor's product also needs to be to some extent standardized, because some of them they provide some excellent high-end facilities, the other ones are not. So they need to be standardized, and as a result of that, when more and more providers they will be interested to come forward to adopt this HMIS, then everyone will be winner in this process, and as a result of that there will be huge acceptance that will bring down the cost, and very importantly everybody will get to see the benefit out of it. So probably these are some of the things what needs to be done to take a better acceptance of HMIS. And as I have told already, your second part of question, where we are and what we are supposed to do, I think we have products which are state of the art. We need not to be worried, but only think how that state of the art product can be installed and used in a tier 2 tier 3 city hospital, and how it will talk to a metro hospital with a tertiary care facility. That is the need of the hour.
Excellent. Quite important point raised by Mr. Joy Chakraborty. I'll come to Mr. Prashant Deshmukh, CEO, CIMS Hospital Private Limited. Mr. Prashant, Mr. Joy has raised a very important issue. It's not about whether we have the state-of-art products or not. It's there. But the problem is that can those be used in Tier 2 and Tier 3 city hospitals? What about them? Your take on that?
So, thanks, Avik. As you rightly pointed out about what Mr. Joy has spoken about, uh, we currently have products ranging from the kind of some of the excellent products in the industry, from that to a routine basic product. But as the cost is one of the prime factor which we are saying, and second factor is in the adaptation in terms of how and who can use it. Yeah, first of all, that awareness and commitment is required. Second good thing I in this line may be happening in background is like all the NABH hospital may be mandated to have an HIS in next couple of years. So why government framework will be very much important in this, like whatever the uh, statutory requirements, guidelines, I think those will be in place in next 1 or 2 years. There has been a significant inclination of the government to have digital India, and in that line, this is one of the prime thing where we want to link to unique IDs to the having a common platform where all this digitalization of patient documentation will be required in coming years. So adaptation somewhere, I think if it is mandated from the top, that may help in a different way altogether. So there we can look into a platform where most of the hospitals might be using a kind of HIS system. Coming to, I guess, particularly to HIS, what uh, issues we might be facing is like it is an architecture kind of the hospital. So whenever we find that it has to track kind of a patient journey from entry to exit as of now, but it is now having an extension into before entry also and after exit also. But at least for an hospital based system, it has to track completely all domains wherever patient is traveling. It has to comprehend everything. Second aspect to it is, as we rightly pointed out, in terms of customization. Most of the times, hospital do believe what they are doing is the best suitable thing, and that is the only thing they can do. The process, particularly, like if you see simple example of some of the hospital may have appointment different person, call center different person, registration different person, and the billing is a different person. So everyone would like to have their own processes to be encompassed and accomplished in the same HIS, but that may not be practical per se. We have to look for the standard formats wherever we can have a proper customization which is required. Sometimes that flexibility, it's an hospital's call whether do you want really a customized product, or do you really want to visit first that HIS what he can deliver or he or she can deliver. Yeah. So if your HIS can deliver your basic concerns, if you can highlight 3 points, 4 points, 5 points by each stakeholder what exactly you need, if that solution gives all those things, I think that should be more than enough for us to adapt to the new process per se. Yeah. Another important perspective which we face in day-to-day operations is HIS, how it is communicating to different platforms. Like we can't expect HIS to do everything which might be required for a hospital to do. If we, let's say, an example of financing and accounting, many of the hospitals do use a separate software in terms of finance and accounting. Maybe it's Oracle or maybe it's SAP. Same thing with HR, we have a separate platform. Business intelligence is kicking in, which has a different platform, and the CRM also. So we don't expect HIS vendor to have expertise in all these domains, but a seamless connection with all these is very critical, very important. And the turnaround time and adapting to that. Because once these things delays everything, I think whole that exercise may get delayed. So I think that is some perspective from my side from the HIS requirements.
Right. Let's have a perspective from Dr. Biren Chauhan, Group CEO, Sunshine Global Hospitals. I saw Dr. Biren was present. Is he there? I think maybe logged out because of some technical problem. Okay, let's have a perspective from Mr. Saurav Gupta, VP Operations Medanta. Mr. Saurav, your take on this.
Yeah, hi. So thank you, Souvik. So I would actually like to take a more holistic view on the health information system and allow me a minute to actually look at the macro view. When we talk about health information system, it is not just the HIS. HIS is a subset of health information system. When we talk about health information system, it is the information flow from which a small hospital, it might be a public or private hospital, detects a cancer case or detects a dengue case and sends it to the district health authority, then the information is then passed to the health ministry. So the entire flow is actually part of a health information system. If you see, it might be IT enabled or not IT enabled, but the entire dashboard, the entire disease prevalence, the flow of data from the PHC, CHC to the Ministry of Health, from private hospitals on how many vaccinations have been done to the district health authorities. Everything is part of health information system, and there are three different customers. So one is your monitoring bodies, the government agencies, and people will make policies. They need to understand what is happening, what is the throughput, what is the impact of the program which they are running. The second is the providers, people like us, and I will come to that in a bit. So we require things like HIS, backend software also, and front end like CRM. My colleague already spoke about it. The third is the patient. So patients are now quite savvy. They require information on tips. They require information on apps. So there are many apps which are connected with the HIS systems. So there are three primary customers. Now, since we are talking about HIS systems, let's talk about the HIS systems which are currently there in India. And just because of my background, I've traveled extensively. So, even in developed countries, we are yet to see a full blown HIS system which satisfy the organization's demand. Unfortunately, even the Cerners and Epics of the world, they are not yet there when it comes to front ending, back ending, and the customer support. So you have HIS system at the front end, which is the patient interface, the customer relationship, queue management. Then you have backend, which is generally all the financial aspects, your HR systems, everything. Uh, Unfortunately, we haven't seen, and in fact, I haven't seen any system which is uh, particularly good at each of these parameters. So what we look for is integration. So integration is a big thing because if the HIA system is not integratable, then lot of these backend software like Oracle, SAP, and front end software like queue management, CRM will not be able to integrate. It should be forward looking because the pandemic has totally changed the way healthcare is being delivered and the way healthcare will be delivered in next 5 years. So uh, anything which is coming, like now remote monitoring is the thing. So can my EMR or EHR integrate with the remote monitoring devices, because it might be from a different company? So integration is the key. Convenience is a big thing because we cannot just put technology and ask people to abide by it. uh, excuse me, putting data in the system and writing legible prescription is a problem worldwide. It's not there only in India. So can we actually do something like prescription support in HIS? Because HIS and health information system are actually meant to ease my job as an administrator, ease my job, so that more more emphasis can be given to patient care instead of actually adding one more item on my desk. So these are some of the things. And discipline. See, I was part of the uh, one of the biggest HIS pilot system, which actually failed massively in India. It was beautiful clinically, but when it came to the financial discipline and defining how a package has inclusions and exclusions in India, and with this so many payers, with Ayushman Bharat also coming, GIPSA having another set of rules, it is very essential for the HIA system to have customization. If the customization will not be there, then it is very difficult to have even some of the best systems perform in India. And last but not the least, see, pandemic has already shown us the way that private and public systems cannot exist in silos. So there has to be a system, and we were already talking about this in bits and pieces, where majority of the hospitals, at least the NABH accredited hospitals and hospitals of some stature, come together and start sharing data. Like COVID was a wonderful example, wherein people can actually see on government portal how many beds are available. Now, can the HIS be integrated with this system, because it was manually being entered by someone in a hospital? Can we integrate this? Can we integrate all other hospitals? That's a question, but I think that's the way forward.
Interesting take. Interesting take. I'll move on to the next set of questions, but before that, I would quickly want to have a perspective from Nitin on what Saurav has said. That Nitin, Saurav, if I take the crux of what Saurav was saying, I think on the important part, what he has said, that HIS integration should be forward-looking. That we need to look at, and also those HIS system has to be customized. The customization of HIS system and integration should be forward-looking, especially in the new world order. What is your take on that, Nitin?
That's a excellent point put forth by Saurabh. And more we look at it from a larger goodness of the patient ecosystem. The systems need to come together. And one of the key challenges for systems to coming together, as data are today maintained in different organizations in different shapes and forms. Somebody uses SQL database, somebody uses MySQL database, somebody uses Postgre, Oracle. This disparate systems to come together at times creates a technology challenge. But now we have solutions that kind of integrate all of that. For instance, we have a solution called Data Lake that kind of integrates all the various disparate data sources, right? Not only from the database, RDA-based systems that we have, including the social media data points also can be picked up and integrated together to give up a bigger and greater learning across systems. That really will help making this come together live, and operational benefits that will come out from it. That's the way I would see it.
I'll quickly take a point of view from Mr. Joy Chakraborty as well in this point.
Can you just repeat the question?
I was saying that Saurabh was talking about that HIS integration should be forward-looking, especially in the new world order, and the customization part of HIS needs to be looked at. I just wanted to have a quick perspective from you.
No, he is absolutely right that the HIS, the product which is going to come from a vendor for a hospital, it can't meet each and every one's requirement. And even if you see Western world, there it is not so. But this customization has to happen to meet the local needs, but at the same time, it should be in a platform to meet the global needs. So it has to respond to both scenarios, and that is the way we need to look into.
Right. So let me come back to Mr. Dr. Alok Malik. Dr. Malik, uh, when we talk about effective HIAs or health financing management, do you think that the time has come now in India, especially after the pandemic and in the new world order, that we need to incorporate or leverage more and more new age technologies to solve our problems? Your take on that?
So, just talking about holistic view, I am just presuming then when you say HIS, you mean all the IT in the hospital. So, hospital as a good hospital will have basically three important bunches of application. One is the administrative bunch, which is basically a billing software plus supply chain software, which is traditionally called the HIS, right? Then is the clinical system, the EMR. Many HISs have so-called EMR. I always call them so-called EMRs. It's always better to go for a separate standalone industry standard EMR, which gets integrated to the HIS. And most of the good EMR companies have their own HIS, so that you don't have to integrate everything, come pre-integrated. The third thing is the finance system. Most hospital finance team, most CFOs will like to have their own finance system, which is totally separate from the clinical as well as the HIS. And most hospitals in India would use Tally. Some, of course, the really larger ones may use Microsoft Dynamics and Oracle as well. So this is the three. But then there are many other small pieces are coming up. Now, ultimately, all these small pieces will ultimately become part of either the clinical system of the HIS, the two base systems. So you have a telemedicine system, you have AI-driven chatbots, you have AI-driven voice bots, you have AI-driven patient assistance systems within the hospital. You have so many other small systems which makes life so easy for the doctors, for the hospitals. And the future of, I was just discussing, yeah, we are in the process of piloting AI-driven voice bot. So like Siri, you can say hi Omni, and moment you say hi Omni, the Omni hospital website opens up on your smartphone. Then a voice bot talks to you. What would you like to do today? So he said, I want to meet a doctor. I was actually shown a practical demo. So which Omni hospital would you like to meet a doctor in? So he says, okay, Omni so and so. So which specialty would you like to consult? So he said, okay, neurology. So he will show these are the doctors available. Which doctor you want to meet? So it's amazing. I mean, those kind of AI-driven voice tech is driving healthcare innovation today. There's so many use cases for this. Most hospitals, more hospital administrator will tell you, especially the ones who have sorry, paperless systems, EMR systems of duplicate products, duplicate files. A patient comes, registers, creates a registration, creates a patient file, which is electronic, goes, meets the doctor, and a file is created. Next time the patient comes, he forgets the registration number, or the front office clerk is unable to search out that patient's registration. And then there's a huge queue. She said, अच्छा अच्छा मैं आपका नया registration बना देती हूँ. And he goes, the doctor gets upset. अरे तेरा पुराना file कहाँ गया? You've got a blank new form. So he said, then the doctor has to give a request to the IT guy. Ki these are the two records belong to the same patient. Please merge them, provided the EMR system has a facility for record merge. Now, all this can be avoided by a simple thing known as voice biometric. Voice biometric is, by the way, accepted internationally. Very soon, legally, it will be accepted in India. For example, Citibank is already doing it in India. You call Citibank customer care, and they will say, ki, it tells me, dear Dr. Malik, dear, welcome, Dr. Malik, you have been identified through your voice biometric file. It doesn't ask me my grandmother's name or my wife's maiden name, to identify me. So moment a patient registers, you do a voice biometric. Next time he comes, the front office girl just asks the patient, please read out your name to the mic, and the patient's file gets pulled up. Simple solutions. Voice biometric hospitals which have deployed huge EMR solutions. Some of the really, I mean, Medanta has a EMR solution. I'm sure Hinduja also has a EMR solution. So a patient, a chronic patient, may have a file which runs into 10 years. How do you pull out, for example, how do you pull out a surgery report which happened 7 years back, or a discharge summary of 3 years back? The doctor has to keep searching for it. Some searches, of course, are better than other. Implementations are better. Imagine a voice biometric, a voice call. The doctor says, okay, show me the discharge summary of this patient in August 2005. It will just pull it out. Okay, so voice tech is trending as the next gen technology, and it's available. It's available right here in India for hospitals to exploit. For example, there's so many other interesting technologies, most of them with a base on AI and voice and NLP, which are, of course, we all know what's happening in radiology. We all know what's happening in AI-driven automation in terms of robotics. I'm talking of AI-driven automation in terms of simple hospital process flow, both clinical and non-clinical. Yeah.
Excellent point. Excellent point. I'll take a perspective from Mr. Yatish. Mr. Yatish, your take on the delivering quality healthcare by leveraging newest technologies. Dr. Alok Malik has talked about, has given a very good example of how AI-based voice bot or voice biometric or voice tech can be leveraged to bring about the change. Your take on that, Mr. Yatish.
Hi, Mr. Souvik. Sorry for joining late.
Hello, Mr. Neeraj. So we are joined by Mr. Neeraj Lal, Group Senior Vice President, Medicover Hospitals. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm very sorry. There's a government meeting for the COVID in Maharashtra.
Oh, no issues. So I think Mr. Yatish, I can see. Mr. Yatish, are you there? I think maybe some problem at his end. So let's take a perspective from Mr. Neeraj Lal. Neeraj Lal. We were discussing that how we can deliver quality healthcare by leveraging newest technologies. Your take on that, please.
Yeah. I'll give you example of Medicover. We are a group of 17 hospitals in the country with geographies in Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra. So it is very difficult to manage the quality parameters across 16, 17 hospitals. So we have created an app in which 17 mandatory indicators of quality healthcare has been imbibed. So every quality coordinators in all these hospitals take assessment of various process audit, put up their feedback there, and at the same time, our regional quality head, which is sitting in corporate office, they take care of that. As a result, we can compare whether Maharashtra cluster is doing better, Vizag cluster is doing better, or a Madhapur cluster is doing better. So we used to do, there is a 3 kind of governance. One is a management of legal framework of the hospital, like certificates, like various mandatory license and all, number one. So at one on a monthly basis, we get to know whether every unit is following, whether the certificate is expired, they want to reapply and all, number one. Secondly, all the parameter related to infection control, our VAP, our bloodstream infection, hospital-acquired infection rate. And third is a process audit, which these people are doing under continuous quality improvement. So I've seen with the introduction of this app, even doctor participation is also there. Earlier, I have seen in quality parameters, doctors was not participating. And this app was launched 3 months back. We say Medicovered Quick. So in that way, at the end, at the click of this thing, at the end of the month, I can see the various quality parameter across the 16 hospital. Then we do a meeting, Teams meeting with all the quality head and see which unit is number one in the term of following quality parameter. So these are the few things which we have done in the term of quality of healthcare using technology.
Fantastic. Nitin, how can we use new age technology more and more? Especially we have seen during the pandemic, in the lockdown, and the new world order in India itself, a lot of digital transformation has taken place. So your take on that?
Yeah, so basically we have a provider-centric maps of sorts we have created on various dimensions that a hospital has to consider. So the first part is the smart building data. We have premises which are automated. We have systems in there that pick up data points. IoT has to be integrated. Continuous data monitoring has to be there. Healthcare bots into place to make sure that automated stuff. Today, like you have the IVR systems, right, which kind of deliver standard messaging up to us. You press one, you get a particular message, press two, a separate message. Similar health bots are available that can do a basic level of support to the patients and really take the stress off the staff. The second group is around operational data. How do we incorporate day-to-day operations, protocol, processes, optimize for including a cloud-driven systems that can work on premises and on cloud, manage the cost of their operations, staffing management, inventory management, basically empower the care teams to do better, more in their day-to-day life. The third dimension is around clinical data. Right? How do we incorporate patient and population to drive efficiencies of scale between clinical and operational insights? So how these things comes together, enable virtual visits for patients, continuous patient monitoring, even if they're home, probably we find a way to get data points from them. So that's the richness we build in terms of personal care that we want to incorporate to the patients, right? And therefore update the health data more robust and richer. The last dimension is around managing the outcomes. So like way Dr. Alok said and a few of our colleagues talked on the call today, how do we get AI to do more for us? India is a rich country where we have so much of software skills, IT skills. It's for us to leverage that while the rest of the world is leveraging India-based IT skills. It's for us also to see how much we can also incorporate in our day-to-day operations, right? Use AI to analyze data across various spectrums of data points that are coming into the hospital or healthcare system that we are looking at, how it can give us dashboards and outcomes that we are tracking, making sure we are living the promise that we have for our patient. We are delivering the services that we want to. How do we make sure the mobile care workers are taken care of, and basically take the healthcare to the next level? Raise the bar and then improve the healthcare facilities in the country. For us, for the country that we are, for the kind of population that we are supporting, in the COVID time, you've seen a lot of stress in the system to support the patients, right? So in terms of people, skill is all coming in bits and parts. So basically, it's a system that can come to the rescue and bring in the scale for us.
Right. Let's have a perspective from Joy Chakraborty. Mr. Joy, are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. So let's have a perspective from you that how we can use more and more newer technologies to bring efficiency and also ensuring quality healthcare. Because you also talked about the gap between have and have nots, if I'm not wrong in your initial remark. But do you think that this technology or this digital transformation actually can bridge that gap?
Absolutely, and you heard correctly. I mentioned about have and have nots. So how this technology can bridge the gap, and how it can improve not only the efficiency but also the quality. I'm going to take some of the examples which are very important and for me to share. In 3-4 years back, when the government gave that order for demonetization, many of these hospitals and many, not only hospital, many of these businesses completely got into a difficult area, and they were finding it very difficult how to come up with a solution that patients are coming, and during this demonetization, how they can manage their situation and they still continue with business. So much before that, and why I have taken this example, and I am very proud to say, much before that, we created at that time all sorts of digital payments mechanism in our hospital a reality. As a result of that, without much issues, it started. And then what we did parallelly, we are working on a complete patient experience model. In that patient experience model, starting from patient appointment through IVR, through NET, through call center, prepayment before they visit here, so no waiting time, no queue, pre-visit automatic call to the patients to confirm. In any case, if they are deciding not to come even after taking appointment, then how do you fill up those vacant slots with the patients who are waiting behind them or in the queue they are after them? That filling up when they visit the doctor, capturing the doctor's note, as you know, EMR in our case in digital format. From there you are generating business for the diagnostic services, pharmaceuticals, pharmacy, generating that, also capturing that what kind of business you are not getting in your own hospital and it is getting leaked out to some other facility. All these have been done in the OPD. At the same time, it is for the inpatient where we got it something like starting their everyday payment update, their billing status, their all reports availability digitally, and all these helped clinicians to take a quick decision. So now, why when I have told about pre, during, and post hospitalization, the facilities what we gave, I have taken only examples of some of the non-clinical operational areas application where the technology has been imbibed in our hospital. It has not only given efficiency, because we have taken away a lot of waste in terms of your management, we call lean management. We have developed and adopted better processes, and finally that has given a satisfaction which is ultimately leading into the quality. And getting all this in place and giving a satisfaction, clinical outcomes are satisfactory, so that is nothing other than the quality outcome. So all these have been possible, and these are all possible today by adopting correct technology. And this correct, when I say technology, I talk about the appropriate technology. Again, you should not overshoot and do something which is not needed. Now I've spoken about non-clinical areas, but there are a lot of clinical areas. I am not getting into the details of this, but I can tell you in many applications in these clinical areas are also giving a huge be- contribution they're making in terms of getting improved better outcome and patient satisfaction.
Excellent, excellent. Can we have a perspective from Saurav as well? Saurav, your take on leveraging newest technologies to transform the digital healthcare space?
Yeah. So let me open by saying that after the pandemic or after COVID, we have actually realized one fact, that technology will not be just one way to deliver healthcare. Technology in the next 5 to 8 years will be the only way how healthcare will reach masses. Because otherwise, India is such a vast country, we will not be able to cater to the masses without extensive use of technology. And whatever we see, my expert colleagues have already talked about many of the applications which are there, is just tip of the iceberg. There are already more than 150 startups in health technology in India, which are working on so many things, right from remote monitoring devices to patient feedback systems, and the list is endless. So a lot of work is actually happening behind the curtains, and it is just about time when these things will actually come to limelight. Now, when we talk about leveraging technology, there are three ways and three applications. So one is all the patient-centered, or things which actually add to patient convenience and accessibility. So we spoke about the apps through which the appointments are taken, all the remote monitoring, the telemedicine, which never had a business model, actually come up a big way after COVID has hit. Now, almost 20% of the consultations are actually happening, even in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Uh, People are preferring to have a post-surgery consultation through a telemedicine system. The second would be the quality and accessibility. the quality and the accuracy of diagnosis. So nowadays there are a lot of AI based software which actually enhances the quality of the diagnosis. So there are already softwares which actually add a layer to your diagnosis, whether it's for COVID or for a tissue cancer. They just reaffirm the diagnosis. And you have things like decision support system, IBM Watson, which gives a plethora of options, continual medical education to doctors, and this is all through technology. The third and the most important thing, since I work for a business hospital, I work for a corporate hospital, finance is of utmost importance. And now uh, with the revenue cycle coming into picture, almost 60% of the payments in a corporate hospital are credit, and there is a lag time. There are, first of all, the process is tedious. Everybody has their own justification and rules, their own formats. The discount percentage are different, the inclusions exclusions are different. So technology actually comes in a big way, because if I know based on my algorithms, and there are a lot of products in the market, Claim Therapist is one of those, uh, which actually will tell you that 80% these are the deductions. So why are you billing that? Because if I bill a wrong amount, that will increase my receivables, and at the end I'll have to write it off. So it will actually have a negative impact. And if I'm a listed company, that is actually the worst thing. So for all the financial management things, technology is a backbone, because I can actually predict based on my previous 6 months data. And again, data is the new oil. You must have heard this. But what is important is data is crude oil. Only when you refine it for taking business decisions, then it makes sense. So that is one of the most important things for corporate hospital. All the financial management technology actually forms a backbone, and also adds to convenience, because if what we do at Medanta is to capture majority of the information in the first go. Now Aadhaar is mandatory for patient registration, but we also ask for any insurance details and everything. So if that patient is again coming in emergency, we will already have 80 to 90% of the information, including the insurance numbers. So that actually comes in very handy, because the data is on our servers. Of course, we have a patient privacy and confidentiality policies, so that has been taken care of.
True, true. Rightly pointed out by Mr. Saurav Gupta. Let me have a quick perspective from Dr. Prashant Deshmukh, CEO, CIMS Hospital. Dr. Prashant, your take on leveraging newest technologies.
Yeah, I think most of us has summarized it very well in terms of how this quality as a backbone, and how technology will support us to deliver that. I think, unanimously agrees that the next big thing in the healthcare would be the technology, which may make it like the way we are delivering care will change drastically. If we take a simple example of right now how we use WhatsApp groups to manage our own hospital, I think most of us might be using officially and unofficially, or some might be having an official platform, which is a kind of a social media. But it is helping us in terms of a quick communication, faster turnaround times at multiple levels. Yeah. If you really look for particularly how technology will change is in terms of qualities, we have so many quality indicators defined. As of now, NABH had initially 70 list, and which has been reduced now, but most of the hospitals do have a tracking of around 100 quality indicators. So a very simple thing will technology will help us to have a real time accurate data in terms of how we are tracking those. So that will help us in terms of having the best control operationally. Second thing will be in terms of clinical outcomes. Many of the times clinical pathways are defined in the hospital, but the tracking of those clinical pathways is very difficult job. So as very simple technology can help us having a standardization of those clinical pathways, and each and every step where there is any digression or diversion, it can be easily tracked. Yeah. For an operating manager, I think most important would be the MIS, which we are getting day by day. The whole scenario of MIS may change in terms of how we are using technology. Your whole decision making process will change, because with the such reports we can get in the morning, which will affect the outcomes of the hospital, and we may be able to take the best decisions possible in the current scenario. The another prime thing which may happen, I think most of the hospital will believe is the patient first in their philosophy, in their delivery, in their care. So how we are communicating to patient is going to drastically change in terms of how we are engaging them. It will be starting from taking that appointments, very simple examples, but it will extend into the post-operative care. The hospital journey itself will be available on their mobile in terms of when the patient is in OT, what is happening, what is going on, what kind of medication is taking, is the medication is taken or not. So there will be a lot of transparency which will be there, and this will create a lot of pressure as a healthcare administrator to us. This might be a different perspective for us, but that will be for good and the best for the healthcare. We'll be more responsible, we'll be more accountable because of the transparency this technology bring. We'll be responsible because the turnaround times and everything will be tracked, and the patient will be much more aware of what is happening to him.
Right, right. So I think I have time for one last question, but I request all of you to just take 30 seconds to a minute max for this question to be answered. I'll start with Dr. Alok Malik. Dr. Malik, what one or couple of factors do you think is or will be the defining factor to redefine India's healthcare ecosystem when we consider leveraging new age technologies? One, what will be the one or two factors? Quickly, 30 to 45 seconds to you.
This was the government needs to get in. There have been very industry bodies who have been the Indian EHR standards is now in version 2, but we have been all expecting that government will mandate some kind of carrot and stick policy so that Indian EHR systems are validated by an independent agency. That hasn't happened. The way it happened for, say, NABH. If you are NABH qualified, you get 15% extra billing. But if you have a certified EHR, you get 10% extra billing. That has not yet happened. This carrot and stick policy led to a massive uptick in EHR adoption and clinical system adoption in the US. The same thing needs to happen in India. Till it happens in India, hospitals are not going to be forced to invest money. Unfortunately, Indian hospitals find it very difficult to budget for good quality IT systems. And I speak of that because I've been an IT vendor for 5 years.
Okay, understand. George Chakraborty, quickly, 30 to 45 seconds to you. What will be the defining factor?
So the first thing is partly what Dr. Malik has said. In India, we have now created the platform for NDHM. Now, adaptation of that and incentivizing the players who are doing it. And secondly, in insurance, which I'm linking with the quality, in insurance or wherever there is a prepayment mechanism is involved, that needs to be linked with the quality outcome, which is not happening as of today. So these are the two things needs to happen.
Saurav, your take on that?
So I agree with Dr. Malik and Joy. The only thing to add is if there is a financial incentive, then of course it works wonders, and that is what has worked in India. In addition to that, an open platform where multiple providers can be integrated and you have visibility on multiple things, best practices can be shared. That is not the case in India as of now. In fact, it is very hard to get the better practice data. And I'm not talking about financial data, but some of the other practices can then be shared. The platform, the integrated platform, if that is made available, that would be the game changer.
Dr. Prashant, your take on this?
Yeah, I think the one thing which will definitely take us to usability of the technology is having a standardization across the hospitals across board. As simple as that ICD-10 coding. Like it has to be implemented for each and every product of maybe HIS, maybe technology, in terms of how insurance is speaking, in terms of how government agency is speaking, in terms of a private hospital is speaking, in terms of a government hospital is speaking. All of them should speak the same language. So that will help us in a very quick implementation and having a standardized products across industries. I think standardization across industry would be the key.
Right, right. I'll end with Mr. Nitin Patil from Microsoft. Nitin, your take on this. What will be the defining factor in the when you represent the industry? How do you see the future? I'm not talking about 5 years down the line, because things are changing fast in India and world over to this pandemic. Where do you see what will be the defining factor maybe in 6 months, 1 year down the line?
What we saw in COVID times of remote everything, that's the one that's going to be defining moment for all of us. I think it will kind of connect to whatever my colleagues have said in this forum, but to enable what is in the technology parlance called digital and physical, patients will have to will want a mechanism that is working virtually for most of the time, and whenever they have to be physically present in the premises, how do we have systems that kind of help the patients to benefit from this is what really will help the industry at large. That's my view.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, all of you. Let me thank Dr. Alok Malik, Group CEO, Omni Hospitals, Mr. Yatish Wahal, Executive Director, Wim Hans Hospital, Nitin Patil, Director, Azure Hybrid Cloud Infrastructure, Microsoft, Joy Chakraborty, COO, PD, Hinduja National Hospital and Medical Research Center, Mr. Neeraj Lal, Group Senior Vice President, Medicover Hospitals, Mr. Prashant Deshmukh, COO, CIM's Hospital Private Limited, and Mr. Saurav Gupta, VP Operations, for joining us for a very important aspect of creating that digital health infrastructure. That is how we can leverage newest technologies to strengthen health system. End of the day, we all have to think continuously that how can we bridge that gap of have and have nots by leveraging technology and innovation more and more. Thank you so much, all of you. Keep connected with us.